It's 1,397. Denmark, Norway, and Sweden are united under one ruler in the Kalmar Union. These Nordic nations formed Europe's largest kingdom, powerful when united. But this union wouldn't last. In the 14th century, a German merchant league emerged along the Baltic coast. This was the Hanseatic League, and they dominated regional trade. Wars soon broke out between them. Constant battles disrupted trade, and taxes rose in the Kalmar Union. Swedes grew unhappy, leading to more frequent revolts. To fix this, Danish King Christian II invaded and invited Swedish nobles to a banquet, promising safety. On November 7th, Danish soldiers entered the hall with lights, murdering many guests, or imprisoning them. Over the next few days, anyone who opposed Christian was executed. Around 100 people, nobles, bishops, commoners, were hanged or beheaded. Christian even reportedly had the anti-union leader, Sten Sture, dug up and burned. However, survivors of the Stockholm Bloodbath were outraged, not scared. A man named Gustav Eriksson was furious. His father had been killed. He rallied Swedes, and in 1523 they defeated Christian, declaring Sweden independent with Gustav as king. With many Swedish nobles dead, Gustav faced little opposition. After defeating a peasant revolt, he proved a capable leader and diplomat. As Sweden became Protestant, Gustav seized church property, paying debts to the Hanseatic League, who helped liberate Denmark. Denmark then had a civil war, the Counts feud, and the Hanseatic League declined. Gustav to create a strong state with reforms, laying groundwork for modern Sweden. But the Swedish Empire truly began in 1611 with King Gustavus Adolphus. Just 16, Norway, Russia, and Poland-Lithuania. Danish King Christian foresaw a chance to invade Stockholm when the old king died. Gustavus, outnumbered, knew the Danes were coming. But cleverly, he ordered all civilian men to wear uniforms to make his army seem larger. The Danes, intimidated by the apparent size of the army, didn't attack, and many Danish mercenaries deserted. The war with Denmark-Norway ended less than a year later. From there, Sweden expanded into the Baltic, having already gained Estonia. From a collapsing confederacy, Sweden marched into Russia, taking key ports and rivers. Sweden was still fighting Poland-Lithuania, and Gustavus wanted to improve the navy. Sweden faced setbacks. In 1625, 10 ships were caught in a storm and wrecked. A few years later, another squadron was attacked by Polish-Lithuanian forces, losing 2 large ships. The Tiger captured and the Sun blown up by its own crew. So Gustavus decided to build one of history's greatest ships, rivaling even Napoleonic-era warships. At 70 meters long and 50 meters high, the mighty Vasa was built, and it was armed with 64 heavy bronze cannons, ready for sea dominance. On its maiden voyage, it left Stockholm harbor with thousands watching. A mile out, it sank. On land, Gustavus had victory gave Sweden control of Livonia and 2/3 of shipping tolls in Polish-Lithuanian ports. This was crucial for Sweden's entry into the 30 Years' War, where it rose to prominence. Most European armies then used mercenaries. Sweden created a national army, loyal, well-trained, and well-equipped. Mercenaries hired were also trained. In 16 Years' War, the Catholics were winning. Gustavus led his armies into battle, a true military genius. He'd learned from wars against Poland and Lithuania, seeing the power of shock cavalry. He basically created the world's first light, mobile artillery. He also refined infantry tactics, mixing musketeers with pikemen. Gustavus Light, mobile artillery proved effective at the Battle of Breitenfeld, killing tens of thousands of enemy soldiers while losing very few of his own. After the 30 Years' War, Sweden became a great power. Sweden's navy was mostly focused on defending its Baltic territories. This limited colonial expansion westward, explaining why Sweden didn't become a major global power like France or Britain. A small colony, New Sweden, was founded but later taken by the Dutch due to lack of people. The empire peaked in 1658 after another war with Denmark. But this territory brought many enemies: Denmark, Russia, and Saxony. They formed a secret alliance against Sweden. In 1700, the Great Northern War began. Sweden was at war on three fronts. In prior years, the army was reorganized. To manage the lack of men and resources, farmers provided a full regiment of 1,000 men, equipped and uniformed. This created the fearsome, disciplined Carolean army, ready for war. They first attacked Denmark, sending troops into Denmark and forcing them out of the war in months. Charles then moved his forces to the Baltic, where Narva was besieged by Russia. Charles arrived with 10,000 men against Russia's 40,000. The day after Charles arrived, a blizzard hit the Russian camp, and Charles ordered an attack. It was a great victory, stopping the Russian advance. Charles pursued them into Saxony, winning and forcing Poland-Lithuania out of the war. Russia was the last opponent and offered to return territories, except St. Petersburg. But in 1708, Charles invaded Russia with 40,000 troops aiming for Moscow. In 1709, the Russian winter arrived and Sweden lost half its army. At the Battle of Poltava, Sweden suffered a crushing defeat. The small Caroline army couldn't sustain heavy losses. This single battle marked the end of an empire. To give the crown, 1,000-man regiment, fully armed and uniformed. This created the Caroline army, loyal, disciplined, and fearsome, ready for major war. They first attacked Denmark. The navy broke the blockade, sending troops swiftly into Denmark, threatening Copenhagen and forcing Denmark out of the war in months. Charles then sent his army to the Baltic, where Russia was besieging Narva. Charles arrived at Narva with 10,000 men against Russia's 40,000. The next day, a blizzard hit the Russian camp. Charles immediately ordered an attack. It was a massive victory. After stopping the Russian advance, Charles moved his forces into Saxony, winning a victory that pushed Poland-Lithuania out of the war. Russia was the last one left and offered to return its captured lands, except for St. Petersburg. But in 1708, Charles invaded Russia with 40,000 troops, intending to capture Moscow. The Russians retreated using scorched earth tactics, destroying anything the invading army could use. In 1709, the Russian winter arrived and Sweden lost half its army. At the Battle of Poltava,